we have? I didn't see it up here. It's
Yeah,
a,
there's two up there.
there we go.
That's it?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little later on.
Okay.
It is
But-
a way
Go ahead,
to
take
check
it out
the
and show
mics.
it to them.
Huh?
Go ahead, take it out and show it to them.
Well, we've got this coming up later.
Yeah,
But
We'll just do a quick talk on it, but
anyway,
basically,
this is the way to check them with an alcohol wash, which is the best way. We'll put alcohol in here, we'll put about half a cup of bees, 300 bees in here, shake them up for a minute or two, and then all the mites will fall down here off the bees. So, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right.
There are a lot of ways to check, but this is the best way.
Okay.
those bees are gonna die, okay, so that's just life. But the upside to it is gonna save the rest of the bees if you know that they're talking about having one bee per 100 bees. I mean, one mite per 100 bees is a good count, okay?
Right, okay, that's good. And then, so you said the bees some days are having angry days. So do you just like close up shop and be like, I'll come back another day?
Now, something that I'll do on a day like that, I'll just stand kind of off to the side and just watch what's going on. You know, during the summertime when there's a lot of flowers out and the bees are doing a lot of flying, I just stand and watch in the front of the hive. You can see almost as much as far as you see pollen coming in, you see the bees coming back and forth. That's a good sign, okay? If I'm standing there and I see 3 bees coming in and out of the box, that's probably not a good sign. But so by just standing in front and watching the hive or standing to the side, it's just as good as sometimes as getting into the hive. But if it's the temperature's not right or it's kind of, it seems the barometric change seems to bother them more than anything else. The change in maybe rain coming or something like that.
Okay,
So.
great. All right, thank you.
You mentioned Verona mites as our most prevalent disease, and you also said that the treatment is usually in July and some other date,
It's
months.
going to be later in the year, either November, December. July is after you normally pull the honey. You don't want to, a lot of these treatments you don't use during when you have honey on the hives, okay? And they're going to talk about that a little bit more too, but bottom line is that usually, you may have to treat even more than that, okay? But by doing this shape where you look at some bees, if you see you still have a lot of mites in the hive, then you need to treat differently. Some treatments you can put on, they last 42 days, the strips that you put in. And they're a little bit more effective, sometimes they're least effective. It just, one year we seemed to have a lot of these strips all of a sudden didn't seem to be doing much. And I think everybody in consensus in the club says, I used X number of this strip that was in there and didn't seem to be very effective, okay? So this is where you need to learn what, and you don't want to use the same treatment over and over again, okay? So different treatments, they tend to kind of build themselves up into the hive and then they don't become as effective. So just knowing the different types of treatments that are out there, but just important thing when you do that shake, they call it a bee shake, when you do that for the bees, after whatever that period of time is that you've done your treatments, you want to go do it again and make sure that it was effective, okay? Hopefully you should see less mites in the bottom of that container.
Okay. Thank you.
And in this area, in the warm climate we have, to be a good beekeeper, you're typically going to have to treat now about 3 times a year. And we'll get into that later on in
Right.
the year or now. One treatment a year just doesn't get it. Yes, sir. You got a loud voice, or you need?
I got a loud voice. In our area, I know you got your brood box and a super, but is it 2 brood boxes okay, or what's kind of more prevalent in this area? I know when
Okay.
it gets colder, you go north.
That's a good question because it all depends on what you want to do, okay? I do the 2 brood boxes because of the fact, one thing that the queen does is you start off with 1 brood box to start with in a super. Okay, as she starts building up, then you add that 2nd brood box in there where you can put it in there. She has a tendency to lay up, meaning that she'll start down here, she'll build out the frames, she'll lay the eggs, and then she moves up, and then she'll go ahead and start in the upper box. As your management piece of it, you look and you go, okay, wait a minute. Now she's trying to get up into the supers because she's always looking for places to lay. What you do is you can take those 2 boxes and rotate them. And in this book that we keep talking about, it tells you about doing that, okay? So now because she's moved up, that bottom box now is full, but now she has plenty of room to, and so she'll stay, hopefully stay in that box.
So I don't necessarily have to split my hive. I can just add a brood box until I
Correct.
have the time to split.
Correct. And if they really are doing good and you want to split some off of, it's perfectly fine. Either they'll make a queen, or you can maybe find a queen at the time somebody has a queen. And it really is good insurance on your part to go ahead and have maybe one nuke box during that part of the year in case you have a problem with one. Now you've got something to work with, and there's always a possibility if everything goes well and the bees build up like you want and they get through the winter and you have that brood box, you can sell it, okay? I mean, somebody else will buy that to get bees started, so. You're gonna have excess bees in the hive more than likely in July is when they really are built up, so it's not a problem splitting them off, okay?
Another question is, I've seen, like over here at the Sawney Mountain, you have the, what do you call it, the bees on display.
Uh-huh.
How close can you put a beehive to your house and be comfortable? I mean, cause that one's particularly in the
Yeah.
house.
I mean, you know, like, it depends on where you put the bees, as far as when you put them out in your yard, okay? Basically, I wouldn't put them next to my house. Not that they may never bother you, okay? But, you know, if you have them out in the yard, again, if you're facing where the bees are flying away from your house, it's really not gonna bother anything. You know what I mean? Most of the time. I had an issue where I live that they built a subdivision behind me, okay? My bees were out in my back part of my yard, and the neighbor that moved probably 60 feet from there knew one of my neighbors and came over to them and said, hey, I got a problem. I got bees in my backyard, and I'm allergic to them. And he said, well, one, the bees were there first. Okay, that was good. And the other thing was that because of the way my yard's set up, it's got like a pathway, and the bees tend to fly out and away. So there's some things that you can do, and they may talk about that later on. If you want the bees to take and, you know, not necessarily fly straight out as far as from the hive. Just depends on where you can put them. I just wouldn't put them too close to the house. Not that they're going to bother them, but it'd be better if they fly away. If that makes sense.
Sometimes you can have some ornery guard bees, so yeah, 100 to 200 feet away from the house is usually a good measure.
I've got trees around the house too, so like you said, I think I'm trying to direct them out and up.
They'll
Cause
go
there's,
straight,
my trees are
yeah.
60 feet high, you know?
They'll go right over them, you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
that.
Just
And you
so
watch
you
them.
know, our bees are probably what, 15, 20 feet away from our back porch.
Wonderful.
Because that's what space we have in our little residential area, so. And I've also known some people, there's people that keep bees in downtown Atlanta. They put them on their back balconies, stuff like that, so it all depends on your comfort level and courtesy to, one, your house and your neighbors, so. Whatever you're comfortable with, and yes, hopefully you have nice bees. Because ours are a little naughty sometimes.
Position them away from your house.
Yes.
However, you put them away from your house, so because they fly like 6 feet up right away. They, and then they just keep going up. They're not like at fly level. So it should be okay if you're facing them away from your house. So they're not coming at you, they're going
Right,
away
and-
from you.
All right, we've got time for about 1 or 2 more questions. We will not leave here today until we've answered all your questions, but in order to stay on schedule, we're gonna take one more. Yes, ma'am?
So you mentioned Italian bees handling the heat well. Are there like hygienic or mite resistant Italian stock, or are those separate stock that don't handle the heat as well? Or?
For those that couldn't hear the question, she was asking about Italian bees. Are there genetic traits in Italian bees as far as Varroa hygienic? You want to answer that, or you?
It's coming. Okay, they're doing a lot of work to take and help with trying to make that bee resistant to mites. And they've actually done a very good job with having the new generations of the bees coming out that are more resistant to that mite. If you do your treatments as far as at least watching the bee and then you end up getting a queen that is somewhat resistant, that's gonna make it a whole lot better for you to keep that hive and keep it healthy and growing. So there are queens out there that are Varroa resistant queens.
I think that's the future for us. I've been running hygienic queens for about 4 or 5 years now, and that is the way to go. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that. It is not sustainable. You have to have new queens every year, every other year when they pass away or when you remove them. So other than getting it sustainable, that is the way to go if you want to do it.
And then I'm gonna plug, go to the queen rearing class. If you're not interested in rearing your own queens, you can at least get some queens that come from some hygienic stock. I've gotten a couple from the queen rearing class, and they have done really well.
Yep.
And get some of those genetics, even though it does taper down over time.
And they're reasonably good hygienic. They are coming from hygienic queens that are breeded queens, and they're also are bred in an area where there is hygienic drones. So yes, Jennifer's exactly right. You'll have a chance to do
class.
that. I'm going to call the questions for this session right now because we've got to move on to stay on schedule. As I said, before we leave here today, we'll answer all your questions. Jennifer, would you like to come pull a few let's give, we got a bunch of these feeders, so why don't we give one of these feeders away?
All right.
I'll let you, I can't see that tag, so you'll have to read it.
What makes you think I can see?
All right, I have last three numbers, 8, 9, 4. All right. Congratulations. Better for walking. All right.
And why don't we give a hat away?
Blue one. We also have a pink one if it goes the other way. All right. Okay. Our last three numbers, 8, 7, 5. Oh, okay. Well, we go with, do you want the pink or the blue? It's bright pink. All right.
The bees will come
See you
out.
come.
The bees will think it's a flower.
Thank you, guys.
This is a real handy tool,
Yes.
bee brush.
They get mad at you when you use
Got
this,
two
just
of
saying.
No, they don't like it.
Nope.
That's good to get.
All right. Next number is, wait, did I just do that one? That's not right. Nope. All right, different number. 8, 9, 2. All right. Exercise. Okay.
Well, we do a hive tool, we got a pink one and a blue one.
Or a yellow one or a red one. All right. Last three digits, 8, 6, 3. Oh, you? No, you want to give it to somebody else?
Give somebody
You
else.
have what? You always lose them.
I've got 8 of them at home.
Oh, okay. All right. Next number, 8, 9, 8. Anybody? 8, 9, 8.
Going once.
Going once?
Twice.
All right. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't screw up giving them out. 8, 8, 1. 8, 8, 1. Yay. What color? Blue, pink, yellow, red? Hive tools. Pink. All right.
There you go.
All right.
All right, we'll do some more of those a little later on. We're gonna take, it's down to about 25 minutes now. Unfortunately, we had 45 for that. We've got some tables outside, and there's a lot of good education to pick up right there. So go from one table to the next as you have time and see what we can teach you out there. Also, while you're doing that, there's snacks still available with fruit and some other things while you have that break. I'd like to have you back in here about a little before 10:45, and we'll get started with the next class.